Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing in Northwest Arkansas.
Whether you're a seasoned investor just starting out, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and practical strategies to help you build wealth through real estate.
From buying and selling to property management and long-term investment planning, we cover it all so you can make smart, informed decisions in this fast-growing market. Let's dive in.
All right. Welcome back to the NWA Investing Podcast. So excited for you guys to be back for another one. If you're investing in Springdale, interested in Springdale, this is definitely the episode you're going to want to pay attention to, take notes on, and come back to. I'm super excited today to have Sharon Tromburg and Paxton Roberts as my featured guests of this episode. Bring a ton of value from downtown Springdale, beyond Springdale. We'll be talking about their background, what's happened in downtown Springdale, what's going to be happening in Springdale, and excited to dive in. So quick also note is you guys will be the featured panel of the CCC of NWA event November 4th. So I'm excited for that one. Usually 125 people, movers and shakers in the real estate development community. That'll be in downtown Springdale as well. Last time that was in Springdale was at the Apollo with Mayor Sprouse. Well, let's start with you guys. I'll start with Sharon. Walk us through your journey, taking over the planning director, where you were before that and where you are now.
Yeah, thank you for having me today. So I stepped into the role as the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Springdale in April. So I'm about 6 months into this new role. And I've been with the city for approximately 5 years. And it was actually my love for Springdale that introduced me to a love of planning. My background is the nonprofit sector. And we had moved back home from the East Coast, back home to Springdale. And I kind of fell into this job and immediately fell in love. I'm mission driven. So anybody who is an interested change maker, local government is an excellent way to make impact in your local community. So I fell in love with it. And I was under the direction of Patsy Christie. So she started the first Springdale planning office 30 years ago. And so all of the success of downtown Springdale and success of all the projects you see citywide are tied back somehow to Patsy Christie and what she has done. I mean,
Shout out Patsy.
Honestly, she laid a wonderful, strong foundation for the team. So she retired in March, so I stepped in at April. And I'm loving it. As Springdale, this is such an exciting, transformative time for us with the growth, with the expected population boom coming to Northwest Arkansas over the next 25 years. It's an exciting time for Springdale.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think Patsy has probably been a great role model for you and kind of set you up for success. And now,
Understatement.
big shoes to fill, but also you had a lot of big shoes that helping you, like kind of groom you for this role, I would say. What about you, Paxton? Let's take us through how you got involved in downtown Springdale and where you're at today.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. Well, I would say I've been working across Northwest Arkansas in the nonprofit sector for over a decade, formerly at NWA and Trailblazers, and with that, focusing on active transportation infrastructure and bicycle and pedestrian advocacy. And as part of that role, was really fortunate to get to work in all the major municipalities with all the mayors and the city councils and the city staff. And then from the advocacy side, working with the public. And, one of the cities that I always looked forward to interacting with, whether, like I said, it was somebody in the city or somebody in the public, was Springdale. And so when this position came open, it was just an incredible opportunity to combine a lot of my personal passions, but also just work in a place that, as Sharon said, has truly undergone a transformation and has a lot of momentum right now. So it was just a great fit. So really excited.
What do you think has been key for Springdale's really, to me, it seems very developer friendly compared to some other markets in the country, locally. What do you think has been key to some of the success factors that Springdale sets Springdale apart?
The downtown master plan and the introduction of a form-based code to our downtown. So those two are key to downtown Springdale's success. And the vision of that started around 2015. That's when the downtown master plan kind of set forth. And then a couple years later, thankful to the work of Patsy, introduced the first form-based code district to Northwest Arkansas, and it was downtown Springdale. And the input and the feedback from the community, residents, builders, developers, city staff, everyone, to make sure that as our effort to revitalize and redevelop downtown, make it vibrant again, that we took all of that input and suggestions from everyone to try and build a foundation of some basic tools to get started. I really think that's where some of the success lies. And it's a matter of constant maintenance, right? As Springdale grows and keeps transforming, we kind of have to update those tools just to make sure that it's easy for developers, but yet beneficial for the city of Springdale itself.
And I would just add the attitude of especially the city departments. I mean, I know especially people listening to the podcast, they've worked with cities, municipalities. They're not always known for a positive attitude or walking in the door and saying, how can we help you accomplish something? And I think that's something that helps Springdale stand out, is that the administration and city staff really want to try to get to yes and find a way to make development happen.
It's pretty evident. I mean, if you look at exactly then, 2015, that master plan, the past 10, it's 2025, so exactly 10 years of growth in Springdale has really changed, especially downtown. You're not walking the same downtown you were 15 years or 10 years ago or further. So let's talk about, speaking of that, let's dive in specifically into downtown Springdale. You've both been, super involved in it. What has been some big wins for 2025 for downtown Springdale?
There have been some huge wins. So in 2025, I guess to touch on some of the projects and where they are and what stage of development they are. So for this year, with the opening of the Market Center of the Ozarks.
And tell people who aren't familiar with Market Center of the Ozarks.
Yeah, I know. Can you give a little sample?
Yeah, so the Market Center it's a truly unique asset for Northwest Arkansas, and even kind of a new model for the country, is that it combines several different operations you'd normally see separate. So there's a food aggregator that purchases food from local farmers and then helps distribute that food into institutions. So it could be a hospital or a school. So it's helping to not only prop up the local kind of small business farmer, but also supply more healthy food to institutions that need it. And then the other half of the facility is really a food innovation center, and that's through a partnership with the University of Arkansas. So if you are, let's just say, an entrepreneur, you're not even an entrepreneur, you're somebody that just has a family recipe that you've grown up loving. I've heard stories of somebody had a salsa or a jam, and their family loved it, their friends loved it. You can walk in with an idea, and they will help you take you from idea all the way to that product being on the shelves. So that is something that's truly unique. Another part of the facility is just this incredible world-class kitchen baking facility. You can come in if you have a food truck or if you have a restaurant or you're looking at opening up a restaurant. You can rent out the kitchen facilities, and they have enough for multiple people to be in at the same time and prepare your product. And so just those assets all in one place in downtown Springdale really set it apart.
And just to touch on that, the Market Center, some of the resources they provide, one is a huge benefit to mobile vendors. So food trucks have been kind of a hot topic for probably the last 10 years, a lot more pop up. But there are some challenges to food trucks, sourcing clean water, dumping dirty gray water, grease disposal, just some of the behind the scenes stuff. And this innovative hub here provides people access to all of those resources that they need to have a successful business. And some others, I think, just going, west down to Emma, or I guess the senior center is just east, but the Springdale Senior Center just opened this year, and it was ahead of schedule, under budget, looks fantastic. Core Architects to design, Buffalo Builders did the build, had our grand opening several weeks ago. It's just everyone at the city, and I think the whole community is so proud of that effort. Next to it's the airport, which we're going to have a new street realignment for a better entrance to the airport. They're going to start a business master plan for the airport. And then if we move east, we have Big Emma, which is an incredible residential development that promotes workforce housing. That is about to open this year. Next to it is Via Emma, a mixed-use commercial and residential one at the corner of Park and Emma, and that is being built right now under construction. I love walking by and seeing the progress. It's incredible how fast. And just south of Via Emma is Luther George Park, which I think the grand opening was fall of 2024. And I mean, that is just a crown jewel of downtown Springdale. I mean, it's like 13 or 14 acres. Beautiful design. I hope you've been to it. And so Paxton and his team are doing some incredible programming for it. And then if you go farther east, we have the Sundry Hotel that is under construction. And it's amazing how fast they're doing that one. They already have walls going up. It's exciting to see a crane in downtown Springdale, right? Yeah. You visit other cities that are booming with development, and you see some of those signs to come to work and to get to see a crane, and all of that is that's an exciting thing.
Yeah, and I think those types of developments Sharon was talking about are really going to help transform Springdale over the next 5 years. We've seen so much change over the last 10 years, as you mentioned. Really, even over the last year, there are so many businesses that have opened up just a little more than a year ago. But bringing more people downtown to live is going to help create a more sustainable business environment, a sustainable investing environment, because people aren't just coming downtown and leaving and going to their home on the other side of the city or in a neighboring city at the end of the day. They're staying downtown. So those shops and restaurants are going to be more sustainable. And I think that's really incredible. And as Sharon mentioned, the Sundry Hotel, which is a Hilton property, that is just a game changer for downtown in terms of, when people come and they're visiting, sometimes people either like to stay out by the interstate, quick on and off, or they want to stay right downtown. And the fact that Springdale will have an option to accommodate a large number of people is really going to transform another aspect of the downtown. One of the things that opened up recently is a little boutique hotel called the Star on Spring. And I think that was incredible because it's offering a very high-end amenity. I'll say, and somebody can challenge me, but it's the nicest hotel rooms in Arkansas. Yes. And I'm just waiting for somebody to show me one that is nicer, because I'll go stay there. But I think that just speaks to the momentum that we have in the city.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. A lot of really awesome that really just started operations in 2025. It seemed probably, in the background working, but then this year really coming online. And those are all Big Emma, Via Emma, obviously the mixed use developments by Blue Crane, Market Center of the Ozarks. Who's helping put that one together?
It was a Walton Family Foundation. I think it was a design excellence fund for the Market Center of the Ozarks.
And that Star on Spring is a cool boutique hotel. That was a great idea. And I think seeing an investment from, Hilton Group, the Hotel Sundry, they're doing market data. Like, we can show all the skyline reports and great information. And I think for, a group to invest that kind of time and money into an area, they also believe in the growth in the growth numbers. So I think that's pretty cool to see. Obviously, Luther George Park, like you talked about, that's so cool to have in downtown Springdale. Obviously, Omar and myself are working on a project right behind that, which would be perfect for, residents just to walk across to. So I think walkability, it sounds like a buzz or a key, walkability, everybody wants to be walkable, but it's truly important. It helps the values of the area. People want a nicer, means of living. So it really helps with that growth. And all these different it's not just residential, not just hotel. It's, it's a pretty cool mix to see. And I think that rising tide kind of lifts all the boats.
That's something I think that is helping Springdale stand out and will continue to stand out in the future is that you've got this organic growth of mixed use of different types of businesses, different types of residential properties come online. And I think that's something that we see other cities trying to back into, right? They're trying to reach for that authenticity by kind of retrofitting. But here we have this effort that I think one of the things that is really impressive to me that for the most part over the last 10 years, it's been local developers. It's people that their family grew up here. If they did move here, their husband or wife is from here, and they've been investing their money into downtown. And the same goes for the businesses. By and large, almost every business is owned by somebody with local roots, and we do have one or two chains now that are making their way, but I think that's just a sign of legitimacy, right? Like the locals have paved the way to create this stable foundation, and now you're seeing these, national level interests paying attention.
Gaskins, we brought them in from Eureka. Now they're Springdale guys. They were Eureka people, and now they're full-time Springdale.
Yeah, and I think it's great, and that's an example of their locals, and Gaskin's just incredible food offering, and they're working on a new concept that's going to be open this coming spring, a little small Italian place, just right in downtown. So I think it shows that people are coming, opening up businesses, and then even expanding on what they originally envisioned.
And that walkability aspect is important for all of those key businesses that we just talked about. And from kind of the urban planning lens, whenever we consider walkability, there's a common framework about like the 5 Ds that we look for the walkability. And number 1 is the density, right? You need the people, right, to promote this walkability. And downtown, this is a story about Tyson Foods, and it's a secondhand story from Patsy, but I always love it, that whenever she wanted to kick off this venture of bringing downtown Springdale to be vibrant again, when she had approached them, their commitment to downtown was not just a fiscal commitment, but they committed people. So they moved and opened IT offices right downtown on Emma. And it has been incredible. All those people who are now full-time working downtown, so they're eating lunch downtown at these restaurants. Now they want an easier commute, so they're moving downtown to be closer. There's Tyson has committed another project. They're redeveloping their Fuller building on Water Street on the north side, and they're going to bring over 100 full-time employees there too. So we're about to get another huge commitment, and so that's the density piece. So then we need the walkability for those people. The next one is diversity, so like a mix of different uses. And if you look at downtown Springdale, we are unique that we have hospital, an airport, schools. We have some unique elements that a lot of downtowns don't have. And that form-based code that Patsy first brought in 2017, that promotes those different uses. It's more about keeping that neighborhood character and promotes more of that mixed use on every street. The third D is design, right? And so the city has taken this seriously, as you see, like the East Maple connection realignment, the beautiful lighting, big sidewalks for the walkability, the street trees. If you've noticed the landscaping that Public Works does around Turnbow Park, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's beautiful. All the streetscapes and the lighting, everything that's on that human scale that you notice as you are walking. The next one is it's either distance to your destination, right? And so how close are things? And that's why, and I mean, the Greenway, the Razorback Greenway goes right through the heart of downtown Springdale. So the Sundry Hotel is going to have direct connection to be adjacent to the Greenway. And we're trying to make sure our local trails help connect so that we have multimodal ways so that people can live, work, and play, but not ultimately plan for some downtown that's going to be a big traffic jam. I think the last one is like the distance to destination, about transportation, right? And Springdale does still, I mean, there's always room for improvement. So we're served by ORT, there's some bus routes, but we know that we need to work on some parking issues and maybe some other accessibility ones. But we're in a good place. But if you notice, the last thing I'll mention about the walkability is whenever we started the revitalization of downtown, the sidewalks on Emma, a lot of people thought like, golly, they're so big. In some places they're 12 feet. But then that allows for like a cafe if they want to have some tables and chairs and people can still go. So that walkability is, it's talked about a lot, but it's essential. It's vital to like a thriving downtown, I would say.
You mentioned families, which I would like to go into, that are locals that are investing back into the area. We're seeing some national people, national investors come into the area. You mentioned Tyson, which I wanted to kind of dive into. Their CTO office, which houses a lot of, these are high-paying jobs too. So it's not a factory by any means. It's people that are going to go out and spend money back into the local economy, and then that's interesting about their new expansion. F400. Jonathan at Tyson, he was talking about an expansion in downtown Springdale. So that's awesome to see Tyson investing back into downtown Springdale. Obviously, Luther George Park, the Georges are super involved in Springdale. What the Waltons have been instrumental. What else could you say about local families investing back into Springdale?
I mean, sometimes it's there are a lot of small ones that just don't get the same amount of visibility and attention, right? Like we have some of these big projects with big families and these big investments, but we also have a lot of like smaller scale infill development by families that have been from here, live here, and care about it, or projects that might not get, example, like the Hideaway, right? Our first cottage court downtown is by Huntsville and Price on that northeast corner of our downtown. I think there's 10, 12 cottage-style ones, and that was Zach and Sarah Brothers, and they have been, they've been instrumental lately in helping bring some of these new creative housing ideas. They're doing a couple different infill ones.
Yeah, and I think that's, really speaks to testament. There's, I'd say, some quiet development, right? There are people that really care a lot that are putting their money in, but you just don't see their names in the headlines. And that just speaks to their care for their city and, reinvesting the funds that, I think everybody knows there was a lot of wealth created from the rise of the industry, but whether it was trucking or protein or Walmart in the region. And I think Springdale really has a fascinating mix of people that that really, they're taking the hard work that their families put in during that time and keeping that money, in the city. Also, I think that, and at Luther George Park is an incredible example where, you have this park that, I can't remember how many acres it was before, but it was smaller, right? Yeah. And so they, through the support of the Walton Family Foundation and Design Excellence, got this incredible design, but then raising the money to build the park was a public-private partnership, right? So out of a $16 million renovation, over $12 million was raised privately from families in the region. So not just families in the city of Springdale, but you saw people donating money from all across the region to a park in Springdale. And I thought that is something you just don't hear about every day. It's one thing to care about something in the city you live, but for people to feel passionate enough and caring enough about a park in a city they don't live in is just really incredible to see that support.
And I think the raising of those funds, that was championed by the Downtown Springdale Alliance. And I think that alone, the achievement of Luther George Park, by the end of it, it really highlighted that the collaboration and the success of the collaboration between the city of Springdale and the DSA. Right there was that is a perfect example of why this relationship works so well.
Paxton, you can take a month vacation. So what's to stop you? What is to stop you guys from kicking the feet? Springdale's had a lot of success. What's the are you guys satisfied, or what's the next vision for you guys?
Definitely not satisfied. I think there's been such a large a number of years of hard work by so many people, both my predecessors at the DSA, board members, supporters, city staff, and then people from the community putting their money in. We just have to keep that momentum going. If you go through downtown, if you're from here, no doubt it looks different than it ever has, probably, if you remember it. So, but there's still a lot of opportunity there. If you walk around, there are still buildings that can be rehabbed and revitalized and repurposed. There is real estate. There are lots. If you look around at the use of parking in surface lots or just lots that are vacant, don't have anything on it, I think there's just as much potential to develop now as there ever has been. So I think that just yields incredible opportunity. And I think what we're going to need is that, as we talked about these mixed use residential commercial units coming online, by my estimate, and this may be lofty, but we're going to have 1,000 people living downtown in the next 5 years that weren't living there before. So I think that's something that is a huge potential, because your mix of businesses, what does need to show up there looks a little different for that, right? It's not just people coming down for lunch or for dinner in the evening. It's people there 24 hours a day. And so that's personally what excites me a lot, is that there's just huge potential in downtown.
Yeah, I definitely remember it. I had a major renovation, one of my first major renovation projects on Park Street, and one of my investors was like, "Yeah, I won't touch that with a 100-foot pole." But it was good because it forced me to do it by myself, and it was actually one of my best deals. And it had like gravel parking lot, paved the parking lot, new roofs, new siding, and everything like that. So. And I agree with you. There's still so much more opportunity to develop, all sorts of developments or rehab some of the existing product that is in downtown Springdale. Anything else on downtown Springdale that we should touch on before we go to the rest of Springdale?
Well, we could always tie it back to downtown. That's what.
I think it's exciting because the city has incredible plans to continue the streetscape improvements that you see in kind of the core of the Emma and the, Shiloh and Main Street area. So those improvements will go both east all the way to 265 and then west all the way to 71B. And so then you will have this kind of continuous streetscape that goes from one end to the other that really helps with that walkability that we were talking about earlier. When you look down the street and it's a nice wide sidewalk, trees that are planted in a landscape, that really helps pull people down, which then reinforces the business aspect. And then I think we'll also see, something that DSA will be working on. We've already had conversations with philanthropists, elected officials, the public, is a revitalization of Shiloh Square. It's something that is, I think it is such a unique space because it is an large outdoor covered area right in the heart of downtown that can be used by the public. And I think that's something that is an incredible opportunity that we'll see redeveloped in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and I think but before we leave the topic of downtown, I think it's worth mentioning. Earlier, I noted some of the unique, interesting things that make Springdale, give it its character, some of the interesting elements we have. And so I want to make sure we mention that, across the street from our new senior center, we have the Jones Center. And what a benefit to the whole region, and especially the community of Springdale. And, the community clinic, right? The Center for Nonprofits. Our downtown has so many neat things to offer for families, right? For not just employees who are coming to work, but for all residents of Springdale.
And just to add to that is the multicultural aspect. If you're looking for a wide range of food options, it is just incredible. I think I was adding up, there's almost 20 restaurants now on Emma, just Emma alone. So that doesn't include the restaurants that are, south on Holcomb or on the other side. And I think you can come down and really get flavors from all over the world, whether it's Salvadorian, whether it's Mexican, whether it's Guatemalan. It's just really, I think that is another unique aspect of the culinary. Some of the other cities in the region have really been kind of on the map now for their culinary offerings. And I think one thing we're going to see is that Springdale will continue to rise in that aspect, that it is a legitimate dining destination, and it's something we'll be promoting. So,
love it. Yeah, downtown Springdale, it is a good date spot too. I'll ask you at the end some favorite restaurants too. So downtown, that's interesting to know about Shiloh. Looking at obviously with Onyx right there putting their footprint in downtown Springdale is pretty cool to see. Local business group investing in downtown Springdale and all the different restaurants and everything like that. So you mentioned making downtown Springdale more accessible to the rest of Springdale. West Emma now, connecting all the way through. What
Have you
other?
been over the bridge?
I haven't been over the
Have you
bridge
been
yet.
over the bridge?
Not
Oh,
yet.
you guys got to. We have a bike lane, a nice, safe pedestrian path. You got to do it. Next time I see you, I hope you go over the bridge.
What other areas are you guys excited about for Springdale? As far as I'm familiar with the medical mile corridor. There's been
Yeah.
a ton of some people call it the $1 Million Mile. All the medical district there. And speaking of, Hope Cancer is a Springdale group that we're actually sponsoring for the CCC event, and it's really cool service that they offer to drive people into the to
Yes.
the medical facilities that maybe can't get there because of their cancer situation or just don't have the means.
That's a very, very special organization.
Yeah, we're excited to be partnering up with them and shedding them more light. But it's cool to see, there's such a, we talked about protein, Walmart, and logistics, but the medical industry is becoming a huge, fourth marker in NWA and even Springdale.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on that kind of corridor.
And a lot of that actually, it ties back. I think some of the gratitude for even just the beginning visioning of that goes back to like the George family, right? Children's Hospital coming to Springdale, that is monumental for Northwest Arkansas, and we feel blessed that it came to Springdale itself. They're finishing up an expansion right now, an entire another wing. It's incredible. And we have Highlands Oncology out there. They're about to, I don't know if they've announced a groundbreaking or not, but the UAMS Orthopedic Center is moving forward, and it's a very wonderful design. That's going to be a fantastic project, and so I'm excited to hear when we get that. And at some point, I know that we're going to have a pedestrian crossing and access with Watkins, right? So just helping connect other neighborhoods to that medical corridor on that west side of 49. And even as you drive out there, right, and you see some of that development in that southwest Springdale, even the residential is booming. There's a couple really high quality multifamily developments going on out there with, I wish I had the unit count. It is so many.
Hundreds and hundreds. A build to rent kind of style too, where with garages and not just, garden style apartments. It seems like more, family oriented.
And some of that has just been, it's been very thoughtful and intentional planning with some of that. And so I think that's why when we see this area come together, it's coming together in a very wonderful way where the fabric of it just kind of complements, right? There's compatibility with all of it. It's been a very intentional, but the medical corridor, that's exciting. That's big. But Springdale, it's interesting. All of our quadrants kind of have their unique parts to it, right? We also have, I know one thing is on our mind is like workforce training. We had our Cargill plant close earlier this year, which unfortunately a lot of jobs were lost, and the Chamber of Commerce hosted like a job fair. And we have been, groups have been trying to be so proactive. We've had new employers come. I wish I had the list of all the different ones in some of our industrial areas that have come. Central States, Premium Brands just opened. Keytronics just opened, and that brought
Saw the governor there.
400 new jobs to our area. There's more in the works, more planning of more businesses and more jobs. Springdale at its roots is kind of a gray collar town, right? And it's so exciting and wonderful to see some of these job opportunities come, because when we know that the job opportunities come, we know that people are going to want to live here. So we're going to need all the other things that come with that with planning. So schools, commercial activity, the roads and the infrastructure to make it work. It's great.
And I think, to what you said about workforce housing, I think that's something that is both an incredible opportunity and something for the future. We were both just at the Groundwork conference this morning,
Great info.
regional workforce housing conference with experts in from all over the country. And, I think what we're going to see, and this is an incredible opportunity for investors and developers, is housing choice. That's what we need more of, is that, it's no longer an option just to only have single family houses. And I think that regardless of where you're at in the workforce, whether it's white collar, gray collar, blue collar, having those choices is what people want. And so I think Springdale is well positioned for that in order to increase that housing supply. And with the mix of both corporate jobs, factory jobs, I think it also creates some sustainability there, right? You're not all your eggs aren't just all in one basket, right? It's not just medical, it's not just the protein industry. It's more distributed across, and I think ultimately that makes a more just resilient city.
And another area, it's kind of an extension of downtown to the East Emma, on the east side of 265. I have to brag about some of the developments that's going there. Just at our August Planning Commission meeting, we passed two large multifamily projects, one on the north side of Ford and one on the south. And it's so fantastic. So it's a partnership between Mercy Housing and Community Development Northwest Arkansas. So this is our first kind of nonprofit housing project, and it is all workforce housing. So I think they're capping it at 60% AMI for all of the residents. And I mean, this is very exciting, right? And we have Dean's Trail, which is a connection that is right there nearby, which can easily connect over to the Greenway. So we're going to have these multifamily housing options for new people who are coming that we know are going to be affordable. We know they're going to be accessible. Just more opportunity, more things for me to brag about Springdale.
That's huge. That's huge. I didn't know that was online, and that was going to be one of my questions: is how can it be incentive? The workforce housing is such a big, awareness of NWA and Springdale in particular. I wonder how it can be more incentivizing or what are you guys seeing that makes it incentivizing for the developer who has similar cost to build to rent it out to $1,000 and $1,500. I think a big part of that is the nonprofit stepping up. Which Mercy obviously did big there. Something else for our project in particular was the letting us go from 3 stories to 4 stories.
Yes.
So I think that was super interesting and unique structure there where we could get more density and bring our costs down per door while bringing that 80% AMI for 20 units. What other kind of things are you doing?
And that's such an exciting density bonus. And I have to give that credit to Patsy. She was the one, whenever she first was thinking about this downtown master plan, working with developers and thinking, how do we kind of incentivize people to come, right? And obviously we have an airport in our downtown, so there are some height restrictions at some point. But we know that's a good incentive. And so we're continuing with that with our workforce attainability density bonus. And so if you guarantee a certain percentage of those to be workforce housing, you get another floor to be able to build. So we're hoping that more and more projects kind of come forth like the one you have in the works.
And that's really, I think that's something that helps Springdale stand out from other cities in the region is just policies like that. And I think you have a city administration and staff who are continually looking at how can they improve that. And with the forthcoming updates to the downtown master plan, and the Unified Development Code. I think there's some really incredible opportunities there to do even more to encourage workforce housing.
Yeah, we have some exciting things in the works. October 28th, we have our H3 Studios, our consultants who have been on this journey about the downtown master plan with us and all of our downtown development for the last 10 years. They're coming at the end to present kind of the findings. This last year, we did a study on the southeast quadrant of downtown and then a parking study for all of downtown. So we have an addendum that we're putting to our downtown master plan and presenting to council at the end of the month. But this parking study really identifies, we know that we need a parking structure. That's really the
At least one.
of this. At least one. We need one to start with and then potentially more to come. So this helped us identify some key areas where the first few, or at least the first, would be the best way to kind of start. Explored some of those options. We also tried to find some low-hanging fruit with parking. There's some things where if you notice, we restriped Holcomb and Emma to add some angled parking and kind of realigned that road. And there were hundreds of parking spots gained just from that, which only cost paint and staff time, which was an easy one. What else? There's so many great things. We're always trying to get better because we know that Springdale will thrive if we have clear, predictable rules. Because with clear, predictable rules, we're going to get clear, predictable development, and that is going to help us thrive. So that's usually our goal. So as we update, all of our comprehensive plans, whether it's a master street plan, master trails plan, our downtown plan, our downtown zoning code, we always just have to keep implementing them. But to keep that, we need the more simple, the better it's going to be for everybody.
Love that. And so opportunities for investors, what do you see? Yeah, I think you mentioned the industrial, Keytronic making the $27 million investment into Springdale, not just down to, into Springdale. I think I've seen some tightness in industrial. Seems like, there's some older industrial type buildings that could be renovated and maybe, have flex space or retail. What kind of opportunities do you guys see outside of, density and housing?
There's a lot, like even Kendrick Avenue in North Springdale, an industrial park. The city finished Kendrick Avenue, and it's been an incredible industrial park where businesses have come. And then some of the older areas too, like there's some places in our downtown that were our original industrial area. We have Berry Street plant. We have some places, some of our first industrial routes were actually right downtown or adjacent to downtown. There's a lot. You just have to wait and see. I got to think about which projects are ready to come forward.
I think we'll see, like the Cargill property. That's a great example. I think
Yes.
we'll see a repurposing of that
Yeah.
into some type of facility that will help, provide jobs and continue kind of that just manufacturing history.
What would you say Springdale needs the most of right now?
I was going to say housing.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree. It's definitely
okay.
housing.
But,
We should have done it at the same time.
I think, especially with all these things that you guys are talking about, the continued growth, it's going to be I know the RBS Skyline report just came out, and the vacancy in Springdale is like 1%.
Yeah.
So there is a huge need, so I think that, can be a problem, but also an opportunity for developers, that shows pretty good strength in their developments. What about like grocery stores? Are we going to get a Trader Joe's in Springdale? Or
I hope so. Do you know something I don't?
I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. But
See,
I'm
another Whole Foods just popping up in NWA, maybe Whole Foods.
I think a grocery store in downtown. I mean, as we have all these residential units come online in the next few years and then continue with the momentum, I think we'll see like a major grocery store. We have an incredible little market, Maple Market downtown that you can go and pick up, your basic necessities. But I think the number of people as downtown infills, as it redevelops, seeing different types from, duplexes, quadplexes, multifamily units, that's going to sustain a grocery store, right? So I think it's a chicken or egg. We have to have enough people downtown to sustain it, but I think we'll get there.
How many people live in? You said you're expecting about 1,000 ambitiously to come in. How many people would you say live in downtown right now, and then all of Springdale?
all of Springdale were approximately 90,000. But just downtown, I don't have a good number that I would actually want to cite of me.
That's a good number that I should know, and I'll definitely research that for future questions. So.
90,000 in Springdale. What's been the growth of that? Like, is that what are you seeing average annually?
Unbelievable. I will say at least just a snapshot from the past. 25 years ago, in 2000, we had 45,000 people. So, I mean, in 25 years, you've seen this exponential growth. And I think, the common theme that we hear is by 2050, we're going to reach 1 million people here in Northwest Arkansas. And Springdale is at the absolute heart of that, at the heart of Northwest Arkansas. And we have strong job opportunities and workforce. So we know that people are coming. So the growth is inevitable. It's just a matter of, is it going to shape us, or do we get ahead of it and help shape this growth? So all of our efforts downtown are playing directly into that.
Yeah, and just like, we have the largest school district. And so I think that just shows that it's a place, that it's like the crossroads of Northwest Arkansas, right? But it's families. People are living here and working across the region. And I think as the city continues to implement like workforce affordable housing initiatives, we'll just see even more of that, as a place to live, regardless of where you're working across Northwest Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of opportunity. We talk a lot about downtown Springdale, but also just being close to 49. I think with Springdale being right in the heart of the greater MSA of Northwest Arkansas, when you have these split, the husband works at Walmart and the wife works at the U of A or vice versa,
Springdale is the perfect place to be where you're splitting that commute. So
And if you think of some of the future road connections coming, right, the 612 project and even some of the RDOT projects that are in the works, and I know those are still a little far out, but we're already trying to plan for that because we know that those road connections are only going to open up more opportunities for development and businesses and our community to grow.
And I think as you spoke to like transportation, we were talking about housing, but a key piece of housing and attainability and affordability is transportation. In fact, if you ever just look at housing prices on their own, you're missing it, right? Because you can have a very low housing price, but a high transportation cost. And so I think that's one of the great pieces about not only investing in the road network, but also investing in the trail network. All the major road projects that the city's been doing include a biking and walking component to it with the trail. So I think that's going to help providing transportation options, which gives people more choice, kind of going back to that housing choice, having a choice of how you get to work is going to be key. And I think that's just, once again, part of building a resilient city.
Yeah. And it's a smart strategy, right? Is to kind of look for promote more of the housing and development with infill, right? Because we have areas in the city, right, where the infrastructure, the utilities, the roads are already built. They have water and sewer. They have some capacity there. Those are the spots, and a lot of those we have downtown or adjacent or near downtown, and those are the ones that we really should kind of help target and promote. Springdale is still growing, right? We still have sprawl, and we still have new developments coming. But for the areas where it's more efficient, it's way more efficient since we don't have to build new roads and put in all new infrastructure. Downtown still has a number of opportunities for that.
And I think speaking of infrastructure, if you've been paying attention to the news headlines in Northwest Arkansas, you will see sewer and water in the headlines many times over this past year. But that's really incredible that Springdale has been looking at this for quite a while and making investments. And I would argue is probably in some of the best shape of any of the other cities in terms of adding and handling this growth and development in terms of its water and sewer capacity.
Yes, big props to Springdale Water Utilities. Really, and they serve, Johnson and Lowell, and they expand out more than just our city limits, Springdale Water Utilities, and they did. That team, they saw ahead and have been working. But yes, those utility challenges, those capacity challenges, all the cities in Northwest Arkansas face. So as we think about like future road connections and potential areas of growth for new industrial development, sometimes that is a huge factor that can be a barrier that we have to kind of figure out is we want this density. This would be a fantastic place for X, Y, and U land use, but how long is it going to be until we have sewer or water or able to build a sufficient road to carry said traffic?
And I think that's where it's really important that people are supporting the city and making these decisions because it's going to take money to fix these issues that we're going to be facing as growth continues to increase. And, we've got to make it politically feasible to make some of those tough choices because not everybody, investing in a water line or a sewer line is not the sexiest thing, right?
Not glamorous,
Much rather see other investments. But those are critical to ever having a properly healthy, functioning industry or business environment.
that was going to be even one of my questions was, what are some of the challenges that you guys could see? But you guys are being pretty far thinking ahead about these water issues and infrastructure potential issues and getting in front of adjacent parking, simple plans like that to add hundreds of parking spots. So definitely hats off to you guys for continuing to be forward thinking on that and not just being proactive versus reactive, which is a successful trait with any industry, so.
And that's like, I think the other key piece we're talking about water sewer is parking, right? So every downtown at some point faces a parking challenge and sometimes it's just a perception. There's not a parking problem, but a walking problem. But I'd say regardless, perception trumps reality in those situations. So for somebody to come downtown and eat at a restaurant, if they don't think they're going to be able to get a parking space, they're going to make a choice to go somewhere else. So I think that is something that as we look at continuing this momentum and growth, and as we have more restaurants and shops and people living downtown, also making it politically feasible for the city to invest in parking solutions, which ultimately means parking decks, right? I think it's a great concept of looking at your tax revenue per square foot. And if you look at that, having vacant land, having surface parking lots is not a good return, right? So if we can have cars parking in parking decks, that frees up real estate so that you get more tax dollars, which ultimately just helps feed the system and provides more business opportunity.
And having that parking problem is a sign of success. Whenever we started, it sounds backwards, but when we started getting influx of parking complaints, it was a good thing because I remember the days when you didn't have a parking problem. You could park anywhere, and you could always go downtown and park right in front of the shop or the business that you're going to. So that is just a sign that now we're getting the attraction and people are coming to see how fantastic downtown is, and now we have that parking problem. And years ago, Patsy said, once we have the problem, it's too late. We've got to start. But when you don't have a parking problem, but here we are. But I'm glad that everyone gets to that point in the transformation of a downtown where they have to address parking and growth, but it is a sign of success. So although it's frustrating and we need to work out some sort of solution, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Once you have a problem, it's too late. That is what a good what an awesome mindset, and taking extreme ownership mindset. I think that's awesome. That's a good takeaway from here. And do you guys have a timeline for park it like
you want to help build one?
Yesterday,
I have a friend that was approached by a certain group about buying his land. So I know it's probably in the work. You're probably looking at identifying some sites.
And we have that study that we have, and we're going to present to council at the end, a nice parking study, just identifying where we think the most density would be, where those structures should be. So I'm hoping that's the guiding document. So once we get some of these interested parties and propose some solutions out, at least we have this guiding document with some real data to be able to guide those decisions.
Yeah, and I'd love to see a public-private partnership of some land owned by private developers and the city partnering. Barring that, it's probably going to be a bond issue, right? I mean, those parking decks are very expensive. So I would say that if we don't have some type of partnership come forward, it'll need to be in the next bond project. And if the city doesn't do that, then we really will have a problem, right? When that hotel opens in 2027, when we have 5 new restaurants downtown, hundreds of people living downtown, it's something we really got to start working on now.
Sounds like you guys are on it. And well, I'm gonna finish with a lightning round here. Couple questions for each of you guys. I'll let each of you guys answer. What's your favorite? I think I know that. Favorite new public space in Springdale?
I'm going to say Luther George Park, but I'm biased. I live downtown. I work downtown. So it is the closest park to my house. That is where me and the kids are almost every other day. So I spend a lot of time there, but I can't just say enough good things about how that project turned out. It's great for kites. And whenever the wind over the hill by that amphitheater,
like being on kites.
Yeah.
I think since Sharon took Luther George Park, I'll have to go with if you haven't been downtown lately, the Greenway runs right through downtown, and Emma Onyx just opened up a new location right there on the corner, which is just such an incredible addition to downtown and bringing a lot of new people downtown. But the city invested in, and this probably doesn't sound as good as it is, but there was this grass strip in between Shiloh Square and the Greenway that was always muddy, and the city just put in AstroTurf, and it's just really incredible because that space is now used like every day, and you can come downtown, get a coffee or a drink from Onyx, sit outside at a table, and kids can play, and it's just really incredible.
I was surprised how much the public could now utilize that space, or how underutilized it was to begin with, which I didn't think it was. What a little turf will do.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one restaurant, when we talked about Gaskins, which we all had, we shared a nice meal, that's a nice steak dinner there. What's the one restaurant everyone should try?
My heart goes to probably Spring Street Grill, only because I don't know how long Spring Street Grill has been in downtown Springdale, but as far back as I can remember as a child, we were going to Spring Street Grill. So it is a comfort place. So as we have all these incredible new ones pop up and they're all fantastic, there are some days that I just kind of want to go back to that comfort place that has always been there. The recipes are still the same. The coconut pie still tastes the same.
Love it. I'm going to have to check it out.
And then I think I'll have to say, like, for date night, I would try Bistro 16. For a long time, there's a restaurant called Bienvenue French restaurant. Also sells the most French wine of any place in the state, which is a fun fact. Recently rebranded to Bistro 16, so a little more casual, but still definitely nice and going in for a nice meal. And if you like French food, it's definitely incredible.
Awesome. I will check that one out as well. And what's, I guess, one word, if you can give it one word, what would you describe Springdale's future?
Strength.
It's good. I like it. What about you, Paxton?
Oh, gosh, this may sound boring, but opportunity. It's just incredible amount of opportunity.
I love it.
I know we're wrapping it up, but I do want to throw in there the opportunity zone. I don't know if we talked about that, but it is over our downtown. Just to add, we can stay here for hours and talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's something that, the opportunity zones made it through the big, beautiful bill. The rules are being written right now. I believe there will be a zone still in Springdale, and I think that's an incredible investment opportunity that if people don't know about, they really need to get
The Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner, actually came with the governor in spring of this year and toured some of the developments that were completed under the Opportunity Zone. Yeah.
Yeah, and if listeners can go back to the episode with Mayor Sprouse, we did touch on Opportunity Zone and how that's been tremendous for downtown Springdale specifically, and it'll be interesting to see how that does get the zones get if they move a little bit or get redesignated. I guess that's 2026. So
Yeah. I do want to add, I think when we were talking about new things this year, because this is really new, it was just announced last week, but if you're a resident of Northwest Arkansas, I grew up here, you probably knew of AQ Chicken.
Oh, yes.
It was a long-standing institution on Thompson in Springdale, and growing up, going to eat family dinners there, and just really excited that it is going to be opened up in downtown, right across from Shiloh Square, next to Onyx. And I think that is probably some of the biggest news that happened recently.
The chicks are coming home, I think is what their line is. That's a huge announcement. That's so exciting. I mean, that is that kind of reminds me of like the Spring Street Grill, like a comfort something from your past is AQ coming back. I mean,
yeah, I was lucky to have it before they shut down the old location. And what better spot now too, right in the heart of downtown Springdale. So that's awesome. Well, thank you guys, Sharon, Paxton, for coming on. Where can people learn more or get more involved?
Absolutely. Thank you. Our city website, springdalear.gov, planning department. Also follow planning on Instagram.
Yeah, and for us, it's downtownspringdale.org. And of course, on social media, Downtown Springdale. And we've got an incredible event calendar and lots of information about downtown. And we also support somebody's opening up a local business in downtown and has questions, we're happy to help them in any way we can.
Love it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Remember to leave a review and share the episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and list some sponsors off here. We're going to start with Whinstone Private Lending. This episode is brought to you by Whinstone Private Lending, one of the top private and hard money lenders now serving Northwest Arkansas. Whether you need short-term capital for a flip, a bridge loan, or creative financing, they've got you covered with very flexible products to fit nearly any deal, including 100% financing. What sets them apart is their deep expertise, fast response times, and ability to think outside of the box to help investors like us close quickly and efficiently. If you're looking for a real lending partner, check out Whinstone Private Lending. Link is in the show notes. Our next sponsor is Advantage Title and Escrow. They're a local company. They do great work. Specifically, Kayla Phillips. I can speak personally on this sponsor because I use Kayla for all of my transactions. It's been 2, 3, 4 years now, and Kayla and I have done a ton of deals. We probably do between 65 to 80 deals a year together, and they do a great job. The SOPs, so systems and processing that they have over Advantage Title is just incredible. Clients love it. They do a great job from start to end communicating. When I give a deal to Advantage Title and Escrow, I know that it's going to be taken care of. There's no second guessing. I almost am able to treat them like a second transaction coordinator to my transaction coordinator that I already have. I know that they're going to handle the systems and processes correctly. As an agent, as a homeowner, as a buyer or seller, They do an incredible job of handling a transaction and communicating throughout the process. They do a great job with communication, especially Kayla Phillips over there. I would highly encourage you, if you're looking to close on a home, buy a home, if you're an agent listening, to use Advantage Title and Escrow, specifically Kayla Phillips. So you're going to reach Kayla best at 501-358-1601, or you can email her, Kayla, Cayla, at goadvantagetitle.com. Advantage is ADVANTAGE title.com. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an update.
Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for more real estate insights and behind-the-scenes content.
Have a question you want us to cover? Send it our way. And if you're interested in sponsoring the show, visit NWAinvesting.com to get in touch. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.